Hi, everyone. Welcome here on this, what is it? Thursday, December 18th of 2025. I hope you're preparing well for the holidays, taking some good, much needed time off with the ones that you love. Um, Remember last week when all of a sudden, if you did watch till the end, all of a sudden it stopped right in the middle of when I was getting to the good stuff. Now, for those of you who have had the opportunity to sit with one on one, you know darn well when that happens, good, bad, otherwise, I immediately stop in the middle of a session because I know almost everything happens for a reason. And so when I'm reading in the middle of a session, you no doubt have experienced this, and the ones that I've known for a while, I'll be like, no, wait, we have to go back. So whatever interrupt, it doesn't matter if it seems to be an animal barking, uh, if there's a light that flickers, whatever happens, I will stop in the middle and I'll go, okay, there was a reason why there was this interruption. What was the reason? Now, last week, I did 2 live streams the same day. Both live streams stopped at very interesting moments. So, so I'm by design picking up where I left off. So the other live stream that's on this Facebook page, YouTube page, Instagram page, what else? Twitch. I'm not quite sure what else we're broadcasting on. You'll go to the previous recording to get the stuff that's sort of leading up to what we're going to continue with today. And then I have a whole bunch of other stuff. It's going to be sort of like a longer live stream. So I hope you can stick around. First, a couple of house cleaning notables. Of course, I am working during the holiday season. And for those of you who are regulars, you are already on the schedule. Don't fear. One of as we all know, when you work in depth, and certainly when you do psychoanalysis, and certainly when we spend more than just a few weeks, a few days talking about the holidays and what comes about. Of course, there's a lot of triggers all the time. I mean, the whole nature of going into spending time with people one on one have a lot of sensibilities on the surface. So the potential for triggering heightened sensibilities, sort of, as you know, the way I phrase it with you one-on-one is your emotions and whatnot are right on the surface oftentimes. And so there's usually this time of year, there is plenty of preparation, if not days, weeks, months, for some of us, years. We're talking subjects, family dynamic, family of origin, potential triggers, things that are unforeseen happening, more than just the drunk uncle who shows up again drunk and then decides to express his new voice, wears a lampshade on his head, and maybe if it's a new experience for some people, they don't know if they should laugh. There's an awkward laugh. Then there's someone leaves early, someone makes an excuse to leave early. And so oftentimes there's preparation for those kinds of things. Yes, the Black Friday sale, I'm hearing from a few of you. Of course, I'm hearing from a few of you with bank time who are not regulars, who I will email back as today. If I don't get back to you today, I'm for sure going to get back to you tomorrow and get you on the schedule. And don't forget, Monday begins very exact same as Black Friday sale. We're going to have the Christmas sale, so be sure to take advantage of that as well. All right, I want to pick up where we left off. And if you remember, last live stream, I asked the question, is this new documentary on UFOs, UAEs, whatever they want to call it, really disclosure, or is it just continued sort of propaganda, a certain narrative, getting us used to what I shared with you last week, the idea to the term of UAEs, right? And I'm leaning more towards that direction. But if you remember, you guys, where the live stream ended was just when I was about to introduce that quote unquote real aliens from the quote unquote X-Files guy who's now retired that worked with the intel agency, who by his own admission was asked to sort of distance himself and separate from that X-Files program because it was potentially problematic because it was so close to what was actually happening. He maintains from the intelligence that he was privy to during his time when he was working on these cases that quote unquote real aliens, real visitors, real aircraft are not physical. Let's now listen to what was interrupted last time. John D'Souza talking about how it's not physical, and he explains what he's learned through his many years in an intelligence agency, gathering from a lot of different cases, a lot of different sources. Now, here is what he has to say. Watch this.
They are not physical. They are from another dimension. They are from another dimension of reality, and they can kind of manifest physically here for short periods of time. And the same is true of the UFOs that come with them. We shouldn't attack them. That happened in 1952 over Washington, D.C., when a bunch of UFOs came in over the most protected airspace in the world, and our entire Air Force was sent out after them for the last time. It's the last time any Western nation did that, and until now. And the reason it was the last time is because those over 14 days we saw in the report that came out after that in 1952, we saw that those UFOs just embarrassed all of our military jets and did circles around them, did over-unders, and for 14 days they just humiliated our Air Force and could very easily have destroyed them. Very easily. And
Right.
they didn't. They didn't. They just hung around for 14 days for some reason. I don't know why. And they buzzed all over the Capitol and everywhere. And those appeared to be genuine UFOs at that time. But because they had those abilities to be filled with light, to be shape-shifting trend properties, and so forth. And so these are the things that we need to look at so that we can tell when the government is lying to us, when they say things like, yeah, we just shot down a bunch of UFOs. We just shot down. We're not going to show you any of the materials.
Right.
We're not going to show you anything or tell you anything about it. But yeah, just trust us that we shot down. Real UFOs cannot be shot down. We saw that in the Battle of Los Angeles when the entire California coast was militarized against Japanese Zeros. And we had all these munitions out there. And then a couple of very large UFOs came sailing in, and they shot everything they had up at it. All they did was kill about 4 or 5 civilians on the ground. Most of the munitions just passed gently through the UFOs. And then we had cameras that were taking pictures every second, every half second there. And after all the smoke cleared, you saw 2 giant UFOs very happily sailing away, undamaged from this occurrence. Those were genuine UFOs because they had that ability to dematerialize, to have these qualities that only genuine UFOs can have. UAPs don't have that.
Okay, so why is that so important? The reason why I keep playing John D'Souza, you guys, is because he was privy to confidential information that insiders say is even on a need-to-know basis for presidents of the United States. So when someone like that comes forward after he's able to speak in a way freely without any consequence like he does now, that's what puts a lot of weight into it. It's not just sort of an opinion piece. He was privy to that information. Now, I thought it was really striking and interesting that last week, right when if you noticed, I did introduce the notion of what was coming up on the show was talking about a quote, fake alien invasion that insiders long ago from the past were signaling for us to keep an eye for. The part that's really tricky here is that there will be destruction. They are foretelling that there will be destruction, but it won't be by and for the reasons that the narrative that's going to be pushed on the majority of the public will be given. So it's important to keep that in mind. For instance, when we're talking about, global warming and all that stuff, on the surface, it would appear that, of course, the weather is changing. For those of us who grew up in a different time, it's a lot different. So a reasonable thinking person would say, of course it's changing. And so how can you deny that the weather's, but that's where, what, if you go deeper down the rabbit hole, people are saying is, what is the cause of that? Is it geoengineering? What is geoengineering? What is all of these strange things we're seeing in the sky? And so I thought it was striking, getting back to the next story, is Carol Rosin worked for Werner von Braun when he was brought over as part of Operation Paperclip. And she went public and shared what he repeated in no uncertain terms many times, that the last final card to sort of rally the majority of people into doing things they want to do is what she referred to as a fake alien invasion. So let me remind you who Werner von Braun is, just for those folks who may not remember and may forget. Werner von Braun. Von Braun worked in Nazi Germany rocket development program. He helped design and co-develop the V2 rocket, which was the first object to travel rapidly from ground level to the higher atmosphere in 1944. Following the war, he was moved to the United States along with 1,600 other German science engineers and technicians as part of Operation Paperclip. He worked for the United States Army. Again, rocket launching, that technology, and was assimilated into NASA, where he was the director. And what's important to remember about him is what he shared with Carol Rosin. And Carol Rosin, you guys, decided, just like the few precious ones, that she was going to come out and share what she knew, because she thought it was that important. And for those people who dare to do that, those are the ones that I make mention of, because it's these kinds of tidbits of information that come out with are so vital that I'm grateful. You should be too, particularly with the reversal of the Smith-Mundt Act in 2012. It's very difficult to get a read for whatever the truth is. It's very difficult. So here's what Carol Rosin had to say that she got in no uncertain terms on more than one occasion directly from Werner von Braun before he...
1974, after being a sixth grade school teacher, I was introduced to the late Dr. Werner von Braun, in the U.S., the father of rocketry. In my first meeting with him, during that first 3.5 hours, he said to me, "Carol, you will stop the weaponization of space." And I said, teachers don't stop until June. He said, "No, you have to understand, this is February, and we have to prevent the weaponization of space because there is a lie being told to everyone that the weaponization of space is now first being based upon the evil empire, the Russians. There are many enemies," he said, "against whom we're going to build this space-based weapon system, the first of whom was the Russians, which was existing at that time. Then there would be terrorists. Then there would be third world countries. Now we call them rogue nations or nations of concern. Then there would be asteroids." And then he would repeat to me over and over, "And the last card, the last card, the last card would be the extraterrestrial threat." Well, at the time, I kind of laughed when he said asteroids, and when he said extraterrestrials, I knew I wasn't going to deal with that subject.
Okay, so I know that goes on forever and ever, and she talks about her time with him and all of her experience and why that was so critical. So many years later, after he passed, that not only did he make a point to leave that as part of his legacy, that's what he wanted to leave behind. He communicated that to someone he worked so closely with that she too gave voice to it. And we're talking about it now because I'm replaying it, because last week it cut off just before I was about to replay it. Are you making the connection? Okay. Now, there, and this is the last thing I'm going to say about last week's live stream. If you recall, I was trying to review the documentary Age of Disclosure. And the question on the table was, is this really full disclosure? Is this partial disclosure? Is this just promoting a narrative? As if you watched last week's live stream, I made the point that it appeared that they truly did want to rebrand all of the history that heretofore we have now gathered and value for a reason. They wanted to rebrand it to UAE, and that, which it seems like a contradiction, because part of it is about informing and putting information out there. The other part of it is, why would you rebrand it? Why would you want to separate yourself from a narrative that is part of the information disclosure effort that you're trying to do, obviously through a documentary? I know it's confusing, but in the end, all things will be revealed, right? And these are certainly unusual, unprecedented times, and I think it's noteworthy to really pay attention to what's happening. However, one last thing about Age of Disclosure, I will say, director Dan Farah he did an interview on, I believe it was on Joe Rogan, and he did mention something that is uniquely of interest to someone like me and you and our work in general, and that has to do with telepathy. Is there communicating that's viable? That how does that happen? How is it described? So when there is communication, and I notice Dan Farah brings up an incident. I'll let him explain it to you. It's a really quick clip, but he does explain it quite well, and I'll let you guys take a listen to his comment. This is quite fascinating and interesting to me. Watch.
And the another thing that I heard that gave me chills was that someone involved with a recovery interacted with a non-human being that was dying and heard thoughts in his head that said, "You humans don't know your full potential." And that was said to me by a very senior, older guy from the intelligence community.
Okay, so not only is that fact very interesting, that fact is not only very interesting, you guys, how that was communicated by what he is suggesting is a being who wanted to, in perhaps the final moments, impress upon humanity that we don't know our full potential. And of course, anybody in the movement having to do with higher sensibility, higher intuitive ability and whatnot, knows darn well that that's exactly the case. That it's not that we are sort of subpar. It's that we are powerful beyond measure, and that's if we knew our full potential, we wouldn't question it ever again. And so I'm curious about, say this, hang on. Here's Warren Buffett, Berkshire Hathaway, making a comment about how he's dumping his some of his U.S. Stocks. Take a listen to this.
Obviously, we wouldn't want to be owning anything that we thought was in a currency that was really going to hell. And that's the big thing we worry about with the United States currency. I mean, the tendency of a government to want to debase its currency over time there's no system that beats that. You can pick dictators, you can pick representatives, you can do anything. But people, there will be a push toward weaker currencies. And of course, that is, I mentioned very briefly in the annual report that the fiscal policy is what scares me in the United States, because it's made the way it is.
So, when someone like a Warren Buffett comes out and says things like that, it's worth paying attention to. I mean, he obviously is one of those voices in the not just the American financial sector, but around the world. And when he says something, oh my word, people pay attention to it. And so for him to come out that strongly, and quite frankly, that blunt, it's important for us to pay attention. Now, I wanted to, even though I haven't done this in the past, I haven't sort of played if you have your ear to the ground economically, what's happening in the U.S., you no doubt have come across, particularly on social media and any platform where people are sharing how their affordability fears are coming to light. I notice, of course, again, we've known this was coming for a long time. We've even predicted sort of like the borders of the U.S. changing as a result of what appears to be weather events or incidents. We've known that the economy was going to go in this direction. It's not like we haven't known this. And as you and I, all of us know, I have not held back in one-on-one consultations, particularly when it has to do with organizations like education, government, healthcare facilities. I haven't held back to the degree to which you let me say what I want to say. Of course, I always give you the option. And everyone, it's so funny because I'm going to have to put it on my gravestone when I pass away. I always ask the question, how honest do you want me to be? And eventually, and no one ever, indulge me for a second here. Everyone always says, oh, Sophia, you can be as honest. You can be as honest. I'm a straight shooter. You can tell me anything. And then the moment I start, I get this blank, vacant stare. And then hopefully years later, when I can talk to you about it, you'll say something like, well, I wanted you to be honest, but not about that, or not that much, or not to that degree. I want to say something here while I'm on this topic and joking about it before I play this next. Everyone, rightfully so, complaining about affordability and the economy and whatnot. It's no secret that I refer to the times we're living in as the age of deception. And these times, I believe, are so unprecedented, they are biblical. One of my pet peeves, and I too fall in this category, is the strange relationship we have with the truth, which to me is one of the most valuable reasons why anyone who goes into any sort of avenue of self-reflection, self-examination, deeper conversations, not turning away from having, learning something new from someone you just met, is most helpful. And then I want to add something, you guys, while I'm on my soapbox. Projections are flying around all over the place. Like, not only is it the time of year when people are sensitive, when everyone is stressful, we're coming up on the end of the year. Of course, there are a lot of moving parts and a lot of things going on. But be really careful with the projections with which you receive, send, might have sent, not sure if you sent. They're flying all over the place. And like I say, I catch myself all the time, as you and you guys that I work with, have worked with more deeply, know that we catch ourselves. We're human. The best part about us is that we're foibled. We are not perfect. We are all a work in progress, but we are living the age of deception, when most people have a strange relationship with the truth. And one more thing on my soapbox before I get off of it. For whatever reason, it seems to be a hard concept for most to grasp, that lying by omission, leaving facts out, leaving not just important information out, but misleading someone, gaslighting, helping to contribute to leading them to believe something other than the truth. Lying by omission is as serious as if you were to say, no, that color is green rather than red, when you know it's red. Okay? And I know, people say to me all the time when I work with them, they're like, Sophia, when it comes to my boss, you don't understand how mean he is. Like, I'll take care of him. Let's not talk about it in the dream work, or let's not do a deeper dive. My boss, you have never met someone like my boss. I will deal with that part, and all the other stuff we'll go deep on. And really, when you are sort of in a depth journey, that's usually the part that we need to look at most. That boss or whatever that's too difficult represents the authority issue you have, represents how you didn't have a voice with your mother or father or caregiver. You represents perhaps standing your ground or finding the strength to rise up to finally say to someone, look, back down, back away. I don't feel comfortable. This is not right. And so while it would seem short term to just do patchwork, little white lies, lie by omission, in the long run, the truth is always revealed for all of us. Like I always say, the eyes of the universe are on all of us. And you know what? Let me add this while I'm still on my soapbox. Thank God, because if even if you don't have a platform where you feel like you can get your voice out, or even if you feel like, gosh, I've lived, half of my life, or I've lived 3/4 of my life, and I feel like I really haven't affected people. If I had a buck for every time somebody says, I want to be an influencer, and I'm like, you are an influencer by the fact that you're breathing. You're an example. People are watching. Your kids are watching. You are influencing by who you are. The positive side is, if you feel like you have fallen short in some way in kinds of things that you really, truly, in your heart of hearts, wished and hoped you would have achieved in this lifetime, the Akashic records are recording everything you do and say. Like I always say to you guys, God knows your heart. Make no mistake. And I say, thank God. There is on the occasion, whoopsies, as I knock the table, there is on the occasion when I explain to someone the laws of karma, and they're like, so you mean everything's going to come around to me? And then they get this horror look on their face like, ah. So anyway, the Akashic records are recording us on all levels. The eyes of the universe are on us all, every minute of every day, for every reason. Either thank God or drop to your knees to ask for forgiveness and give it a good try the next day if you have the energy. If you don't. There's no such thing as perfection. But on this idea of projections flying all over the place this time of year, unless you've walked a mile in someone's shoes, you might want to, count to 10 and take a breath and choose your words wisely, because, man, none of us know what other people are going through. We just don't, And the trickery out there right now is beyond the pale. I cannot even tell you. I mean, anyways, that's a whole other show, a whole other topic for a whole other show. Let me get back to, here are the what I refer to as the affordability fears. Now there's a trickle down after all of the warnings about the economy and the possible collapse in order to usher in the digital currency. I don't know if it's going to be a fake alien invasion or what they're going to do, but here are some very valid concerns from everyday people on affordability fears. Take a watch.
People are just weird, bro. I just quoted somebody $7,900.
I think we're going to start seeing more refis. People are going to get tapped out.
they have majority of their, the homeowners anyways, have majority of their nest egg in their house. So I think they're going to do cash out refis to be able to pay off credit card debt or sustain a way of life or anything like that. And then they're going to rinse and repeat.
Well, I just took that call literally 2 days ago for one of the clients.
The lack of money that people have now is really just starting to compound anxiety, depression, anger. They're short fuse. People are just getting, it's even worse to me this year than it was last year, but fuses are getting shorter. You see people that any kind of issue comes up, whether they're in a store, just anywhere, people are just automatically, they're getting the shakes, they're getting angrier faster. People are not having the amount of patience they used to have. It really comes down to emotional intelligence, and people are not able to manage this anymore. And I'm starting to see people break. I see people constantly all day, and it just seems like it's starting to just kind of compound. And I don't know where this is going to go. Bills are not getting cheaper. Nobody's getting paid more money. Matter of fact, companies out there are quietly reducing things like perks, benefits, bonuses. So in a way, you're actually making less money probably than you might have made in the last several years. And at the same time, everything just continues to go up.
And I noticed we missed, oh gosh, it looks like 2.5, almost 3 minutes. So I am purposely going to go back and play the part that was rolled over in between when the live stream ended and when it was reconnected again. I've just learned through time that it's not an accident when things sort of are interrupted, drop out, especially when I have solid, speed. I have everything technically that should be going smoothly doesn't. And we know with energy in general, but also the powers that be are promoting sort of narratives and things that they want and dissuading. I even, really truly believe that artificial intelligence is at play. It's deciding which platforms, which information, which topics, themes, details will be shared or not. But anyway, so back to the affordability fears. And I want to play that little chunk in the middle, 2 minutes, because I'm curious to see exactly what's in that 2 minutes that for whatever reason may have dropped out. Okay, here again is, and I'll fast forward it to the affordability fears that we left off at.
People are just weird, bro. I just quoted somebody $7,900 on a mortgage.
I just don't know where this goes. People just people are not making eye contact with you out in public. Less and less people are smiling. People just seem on edge. They seem agitated. They're just in their own world. And it's like everybody's got their brain on a hyperactive thing, about stress, about money. And man, the lack of money is just going to break people. Money doesn't buy happiness, but money buys your peace. It buys options. It buys your ability to